to you, John. I'll show you on this.
My name's John, I'm recovering addict.
Hi, John.
Hello everyone. Thank you everyone at the service here. Thank you for asking us. I see being asked to do a chair, especially at a meeting like this, is an affirmation of my recovery. Well, it's either that or nobody else would come and do it. This is the third chair I've done in 10 days. And I said at one of the meetings that chairs are a bit like buses, they come along 2 or 3 at a time. And I must say, I'm nervous to that amount about doing a chair here, because I see this meeting, in some ways it's a sister meeting to my own group, which is across the road on a Monday, and a lot of the people here, well, some of the people here at least, have seen me at my most vulnerable. I've got my most vulnerable. I'm quite comfortable with that today. Some of them have really helped me in becoming myself, who I really am. I think it's important in recovery. I think it's very important for me to be myself. And I honestly believe that my true power comes from being me. Because before, before I picked up, life was a bit, I didn't sort of think I fitted in anywhere, and was a bit, I had the dis-ease. As a result, I believe now of early years trauma and emotional abandonment. And then I picked up and my central nervous system was eased. Well, it would be by heroin, wouldn't it? And I found a sense of ease. But I was still trying to fit in. I'd dress the same as other people did, because they seemed in, and they seemed to know what was going on. And I spoke the same way they did, and I went to the same places that they went to. But I never felt a part of my dis-ease was still active, even though I was using, until I blacked out. And the last 9-10 years of my using, I used for about 22 years. Last 9-10 years, I couldn't give a shit about fitting in. I just needed to get. Who's an addict? Most of us don't have to think twice about this. We know our whole life we're thinking centred in drugs. That was me. Getting and using, finding ways, means to get more. Live to use, use to live. And then, of course, I tried to get into recovery for like 9 years, and I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. I didn't really want to stop using, to be honest. And I struggled and struggled and struggled. And eventually, circumstances become so bad for me. My life become so meaningless and purposeless. I felt so bad about myself. I thought, you know what, I'm willing to do anything. And I told myself I'm willing to stop all the drugs and alcohol forever. And with that willingness came a change. And then, I got vulnerable where I was in a place where it's the least, in prison. Yeah, you don't get vulnerable in prison. But I was on a treatment where I got vulnerable in there, and things started to change for me pretty quickly. I still wanted to fit in, I still wanted to belong and be a part of. It was a treatment wing, so it was relatively safe. And what's happened in my recovery is that I've also wanted to fit in, because my dis-ease, it tells me that I'm not the same as other people. It tells me I'm not good enough. I've got a disease of not enough. I used to think that was not enough drugs. For me, it's nothing to do with that. It's about me being not enough. It's a disease of inadequacy. You know, I'm not hard enough, I'm not sexy enough, I'm not cool enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not buff enough, I'm not this enough, never enough. And it's plagued me through my recovery. You know, I celebrated a little while ago 27 years clean, and I can still be not enough. I can still get up and I can be not enough. That's one form my disease takes. But I believe today that my true strength, my true power comes from being me, myself. That's where it's at for me. And when I can do that, when I can be me, I feel all right. I feel okay. But I have to be in a safe place. I'm fucked if I go back to prison and do that. You know, I'll give you an example. I'm walking here, and there's 5 guys walking down the street. They're all talking, I mean, what's going on? I'm really quiet. How the fuck do I get past these? Do I walk in the road? Do I walk here? I thought, no, fuck it. And one of them turned around and went, oh, you trying to get past, mate? Here you go. Out of the way, lads. And I thought, hello. Maybe he's going out to the meeting. And as it turns out, they're all sitting in here. Every last one of them. But my head went, oh, you've got to be careful here. You've got to be careful. You know, because where I come from, you know, I was afraid of other men. I mean, I still can be today, obviously. But, you know, I was indoctrinated with fear. I grew up in King's Cross. It ain't exactly a genteel place to bring up, to grow up, especially during the 60s, you know. I doubt it's any different today. There might be nice areas of it, but I doubt it's any, just because people's skin colour is different there. And I wouldn't mind betting that it's still as rough as it used to be. In a city, you know. So, full of fear. I think the difference is today, I know that I've got tools to deal with that. I've got tools to deal with that fear. You know, I'll confront it. So, excuse me lads, let me get through, please. Or walk on the other side of the road and make it okay for myself, rather than berate myself for not being brave enough or tough enough. You know. NA has given me the tools to be myself and live life without having to calm myself with drugs. It's given me the tools to do that, and I use them as much as I can. You know, in the readings it said, not in the readings, but Ros said, a moment of silence to remember why we're here and the addict who still suffers. And I try to think of the addict who still suffers, who could be out there, who could be in this room, but I remind myself why I'm here, why I keep coming here. And there's 3 reasons mainly why I keep coming here, and one of them is to connect with people that I feel safe with, to connect with other addicts, and look and laugh and joke about what we got in common, this fucking disease that we call addiction. The second one is I may be of use to someone else, I may be able to give something away to someone else. But the most important one for me is to remember where I go if I let my addiction take me out the door. I ain't going back there today. I'm really not. Self-loathing, self-hatred, shame, disgust with myself. I fucking don't need that back in my life. I really don't. People say their worst day in recovery is better than their best day or worst day using or something like that. Really? Not for me. Fucking some of my using done the job, mate. It nailed the tin down. And I've had some times in recovery that have been awful. I sat with my brother while he died. I sat with my mum while she died. And whenever I mention that in a meeting, it brings it up, the emotion. I'm okay with that today. I love my brother dearly. I love my mum dearly. They were tough. That was tough dealing with that. Relationships ending. I had a relationship end that I was in for 4 years, and I wanted it to end, and I sat in this meeting and I kept sobbing for 6 months. Kept sobbing. What the fuck is going on with me? Do you remember? Fuck's sake. I'd be on the bus and it'd come out. I've got a couple of theories about what that was about, but that was tough, man. That was tough. And the only thing that stopped it, I left this meeting when it was by another name, left this venue when it was another meeting. I got on my motorbike and I was driving home and I was hit by a car and shattered my kneecap. And I was laying in the hospital and the guy come round and I said, "Are you the anaesthetist?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Look, I need to tell you, my knee was purple, the size of a watermelon." I said, "I need to tell you, I'm an opiate addict and I can't have any opiates." And he went, "I'm in charge. You'll do what you're told." I went, "Oh, all right then." And his morphine went in my arm, and somehow, all that upset and everything went. So I've had times in recovery that have been awful, really painful and difficult to deal with. But I ain't going anywhere. I ain't going to go and pick up because I believe, I don't know, but I believe that it's not going to make it any better. That what's going to happen is my addiction is going to be reactivated, and I'll be able to tell you when I'm going to go and use, but I won't be able to tell you honestly when I'm going to stop. I might be able to tell you when I intend to stop, but I've seen too many people go out there for a cider or half a Guinness or a spliff and not get back in here. And I ain't going to be one of them, not today anyway. My life's too good for that. It really is. And some of the most important things about my life is my disease can talk to me and say, "You're fucking useless, you're worthless, you're a wanker, you're this, you're that." But that quickly passes. Today I quite like myself. I'm a good man. I don't mean anyone harm. I help a lot of people. I was there for my mum and my brother when they were dying. I'm there for my kids as much as I can be. I'm there for my grandkids. My grandkids love me. I've got friends in NA that I love, that love me. Not for any other reason than I love them because of who they are and they love me because of who I am. This stuff is beyond price, it's priceless. And I never really had that before in my life. Yeah, I love my mum and I love my brother and some of my family, but it weren't the same. It really weren't the same. Acknowledged, thanks Ross. When I'm medicated, I'm not on the same level that I am here today. I'm a different man. I'm like an adult child. So recovery's really worked for me. Funny enough, prison worked for me. Prison really worked for me. Give me time to slow down, stop and think about what I'm doing with my life. And there was meetings in prison. It was a massive bonus. But recovery's really worked for me. I'm going to share about some of the good stuff that's going on in my life. Because I've spoken about, I can still be a bit fucking mad and a disease and all the rest of it. I'm a professional, I work for myself, I've got a career. I only done that, I only got the qualification and done that because I was in recovery. Because I was stable enough to go and study and do that. And I've done that for 20 years out there in different organisations and charities, and now I do it for myself. It's fucking excellent. I work when I want, I have time off when I want time off. I pay all my bills and have money to spare. I feel good about myself because I'm helping people. I travel a lot at a time. I mean, usually I'm away once a month, even if it's only for 4 or 5 days, over to Sweden where my partner lives, who's also in recovery. As I said, I've got all, a bit of self-esteem and self-respect back in when I've got my kids and my grandkids. But the material stuff counts as well. That's quite meaningful. I don't want to fucking go and work as hard as I do just to pay the rent and then have to go, eat salad or whatever it is. I'd be quite resentful if that was the case. So, I could, well, nothing wrong with salad, but I mean, I couldn't think of, I'm sorry, right, potatoes. Potato salad. But I want to be able to enjoy myself and go and do things that I want to do, things that I've never done in my life, things that I dreamed about when I got clean and I'm still locked up. I've got a lovely home that I've lived in for 20 odd years. I've got a lovely partner who's a bit mad as well, which is Andy, because we fit together nicely. My life is very, very good. I've got friends. I'll finish in a minute on this. I recently went, my partner said to me, "You need to go in therapy." I said, "Well, for fuck's sake. I mean, I'm a therapist." She said, "You need to go in therapy." I said, "What for?" "Your anger." I thought, I ain't got anger issues, I know I ain't. So I said, all right. And I thought, let's give it a go, just have a look. Let's just go and, because I'd looked into the specialism that this therapist does. I've been looking into it for a few years and dabbling with a bit of this and that. So I went and found myself early years trauma and emotional abandonment therapist. And it's been fucking remarkable. I didn't realise how early years trauma perfectly matches the disease of addiction. It perfectly matches it. There are even traits that people develop, which we would call defects, in order to cope with early years, with the triggering that can happen within us. But what's happened, I love it so much, I've signed up for some training. So I'm doing the training now, and of course, I'm a lot more boundaried, aren't I? Especially with my partner. So we talk, and she says, how's the therapy going? How's the anger work there? Well, actually, anger's a defence. So I only go into anger if I feel I'm being threatened. So maybe you need to think about how you're treating me. And she says, I ain't having that. And I say, all right, fair enough. And of course, every now and then I'll fire one out there. Maybe you ought to have a look at something. And it's nice, and it's nice to be able, to be light-hearted about this stuff. Because come on, if we take life too seriously, fucking hell, what a trudge. But it's really hardcore, good stuff that I'm learning about myself. I've got a passion for recovery. I've got a passion for the work I do. I've got a passion for learning about myself, because I think more than anything else, what I want, and recovery gave me this, is freedom. I want freedom. I want to be free, and I want to feel free to make choices in my life, and know that they're coming from me as I am, not as doing what will make me look good in other people's eyes, and that's really important for me. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you, John.
Oh.